Hey guys, welcome back to Frictionless Commerce. I'm very excited to have a special guest on the show today. And I want to ask you a question because I know that most of you who are watching this and subscribers and listeners of the show, you are digital leaders. I know that we have a lot of people in the data management, product management side of the business. We have technical leaders that watch the show, but we have a good bit of marketing leadership as well. And so this one is for you guys, and I'm excited to introduce our guest. But chances are, if you are in marketing, you are probably dealing with the frustration between your sales and marketing team speaking two different languages. Maybe marketing is seen as sort of like, hey, these are the people that make it pretty. Make me a pretty brochure. Make me a pretty, flyer for this new product special that we're promoting. And there's this disconnect, right? And by the way, like there are companies, direct competitors that you have that are doing it well. They are the ones who have their digital act together and their marketing looks a lot better than yours. Well, we're going to talk about some really practical tips today. But if that sounds familiar, you're definitely in the right place. Today, we're talking to an expert who literally wrote a good book on this very subject. Our guest is Susan Merlo from the Digital Distributor, and she's a digital marketing consultant. She's an author, great writer, and an industry expert with over a decade of experience, and she works exclusively with wholesale distributors. So that's why I wanted to bring her on. And, she works with sales and marketing teams to build digital strategies that honor the relationship based technical sales process that is really unique to distribution. I don't think distribution marketing can be done just by anybody. In fact, I used to own a marketing agency
Oh,
myself. So I know some of the pain points. We're going to have a great conversation about this. Susan, welcome to Frictionless Commerce. It's great to have you.
thank you, Matt. Thank you for having me. I appreciate your invitation.
Well, I appreciate the work that you're doing with wholesale distributors and some of the very smart things you're saying. Although, you think about digital marketing and like it's been around for a while, but our industry has a ways to catch up, right? And I think that the work that you do there and helping them understand best practices and, helping them wrap their mind around like what really works and tying together their sales operations and their marketing teams. I'm excited to get into this. Before we dig into some of those juicy questions, so let me just ask you, how did you get started doing marketing in wholesale distribution? Like, why this?
Well, I kind of got dragged into it kicking and screaming. I started my digital marketing career as an e-commerce person. I had an e-commerce store this was back in like the year 2002. I had left corporate, started a business online. This was before we had Walmart.com and Target.com selling online. They were just corporate sites. So little boutique stores like mine popped up and we were able to make a living. Amazon, came in and started swooping into some different areas. One of them was mine. And then Walmart and Target came online. And before I couldn't compete. So from there, I went into building websites, which I love. I love getting into the tech. And I got a call from Randy McLean from Waypoint Analytics. They serve distributors, and he's like, "Hey, we want you. We've heard about you. We heard what you're doing with digital." And I don't know how he heard of me, but he did. And he wrote me a big check and said, "Come on in." And as soon as he saw what I was doing, he's like, "Distributors need you." And I'm like, "What are distributors?" And so here I am more than 10 years later. And yeah, he was right. He was right. At the time, marketing was it was a nice to have. for wholesale distribution, as you know yourself, because you came up in that. So there was a lot of convincing when I would speak to audiences. They all wanted to do what I was talking about, but it still was a nice to have. Once COVID hit, that kind of changed. People stopped answering the phones. People stopped being in the office and wanting you to visit. And now it's a must, where we are today.
Absolutely. It's amazing how fast things have accelerated, post COVID. Like before COVID, AI was not even a thing, right? Like it was concept. And then all of a sudden, the reality of it is sort of overwhelming. I think get into AI in a minute, but I want you to talk about, so like it's a real need, right? You talked about marketing as a real need, and it was a nice to have, it was a luxury. Now it's table stakes. So can you talk a little bit about like some of the challenges that distributors are facing when it comes to marketing, and what are some of the specifically unique challenges to wholesale distribution?
Sure. Well, there are a few very unique challenges. One of the biggest challenges that I see them having is um, finding finding customers, like disengaging customers from their old distributor and bringing them in. Customers and distributors have very, very long, solid relationships. And it's usually not until somebody messes up that that customer becomes available for the taking. So that's one challenge. However, when that opportunity presents itself, distributors need to be ready. And it's more than just swooping in and making a phone call or taking the guy out to dinner. And so I'll give you a bigger scenario with this. When a customer is unhappy, they're going to wait a very long time before they make a move. You're good, that other distributors going to have to really mess up. But in the meantime, that unhappy customer is already looking for, I wonder if I should switch. So you want to make sure, if you want new customers, that you're laying a foundation. And the only way to really do this is on your website, right? Through content and thought leadership. You want to paint the best picture of your distribution company, so when those customers are looking for a new distributor, or to jump ship with their that you are the most attractive option out there. So that's one of the things that are unique to distribution. You have a lot of competition, a lot of people selling the same products with the same product descriptions. You've heard all of this. So you want to stand out and be more than just a product seller. The other big obstacle I see with distributors is the really long sales cycle. Okay, if someone's buying, say, a piece of equipment for $50,000, $100,000, or or they're buying something that's going to require a whole overhaul. There's, big project work that goes in there. There's big planning that goes in there. And these are things that your customers might think about, but not act on for another 18 months, which means you need to be in front of them for that whole 18 months. What happens with distributors, and this is very unique with distributors, because the sales cycle is so long, the eyes are always on the bottom of the sales funnel. Because when that buyer is ready to pull the trigger and buy, you want to be right there. So anything at the top of the sales funnel all of a sudden doesn't matter. It falls away if you're not keeping your eye on the top of the sales funnel. The only way you can do that, you know, as a human, is to use automation. You want to get automation to do that for you so you can focus on the middle and the bottom of that sales funnel. So that's a big obstacle with distributors, because they don't uh, a lot of them don't realize how broad the top of that sales funnel is, and how easy it is to fill, but hard to keep filled, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. I was just thinking as you were talking about that, It's so similar in a lot of ways to like a vendor, even like Pivotry, right? Like a services or an agency. Like you want long-term relationships. You're counting on this company to keep your tech running, to make sure that your team has the resources that they need. You don't want to shop around for another vendor. Like in wholesale distribution, supply chain relationships are not easily broken. And but here's the deal, like, if you think about the last time that you and I'm talking to you, if you think about the last time that you engaged in a discovery process to find a new software technology or a new, a systems integrator, you likely did a ton of research, right? Like, you didn't just look at one person, you didn't just click on the first Google, search return result or results that came back. Like, you kicked all of the tires. And it's no different, is it, Susan, when it comes to choosing a new supplier? That person out there, that team out there who's and it's really a team who's making
Yes,
the decision,
it's a good
right?
point.
This is true B2B sales and marketing, and so when they're kicking the tires, before they ever jump on a call with your sales team, they are researching you. They're checking out your website. They're even checking out your social media. Right?
Yeah.
So you would say, Susan, like you have to check these boxes and to your second point, it's hard to get the buy-in from leadership because the focus usually is on quotes. The focus is on how do I get this next quote closed? How do I, you know, uh, scale this current customer account? And they're missing big opportunities, aren't they?
It's definitely true. The opportunities out there, I mean, they're endless, and unless you have the technology in place, this is something I talk about a lot. You wanna have the technology in place that tells you when you have a prospect on your website and what they're looking at and that kind of thing. That's something you have to build, and you have to build it in advance. It doesn't happen overnight. But what happens is when distributors hear about it, they're like, "Yeah, yeah, I want that." But it takes a good 12 to 18 months to really build it out right. So that's kind of the hard part with distribution. Industries have, I'd say almost every other industry has done this in B2B. Of course, SaaS companies do it best because they're on the forefront. But what's nice about being in distribution, and this is what I love about being in distribution, is all of those other industries took the arrows. They pioneered it. We saw where it failed. We saw where it worked. We saw what we liked. And we can pick and choose about, from what they did and bring it into strategies in distribution, which I love.
That too. And the same thing goes for technology adoption, right? Like in AI, like we are able to kind of sit back and watch, okay, well, agentic commerce. Okay, let's see how this is going to play out. Like let me see how my experience is as a consumer first. And wow, that's pretty darn slick. I might want to think about implementing that in my business. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It's nice, right? Because distributors do have the luxury of, kind of sitting back because of the consistent contractual nature of their buyers, because they do take in their customers and they do a great job of that, maybe better than, any industry. There is this view of marketing has this view of like, hey, let's lay the foundation. Let's focus on the top of the funnel so that when the opportunity comes, we can capture interested accounts.
Mhm.
But sales is a little bit more impatient. They're a little more practical. Like, let's go call on this customer. Let's go take him out to dinner, to your point. Like, so can you speak a little bit more about this divide that you see?
There are 2 kinds of marketing, right? There's Marcom, and that's the kind of marketing that distributors have always done. Price sheets, flyers, your website, your About Us page, your history page, that kind of thing. And then there's the kind of marketing that falls into the sales enablement bucket. And there's a name for it. I don't even know what it's called. And, so I have to say, when I talk about what I do, because I don't do Marcom. I don't do flyers, all that kind. We'll build your website, but we're not a graphics. We're here to get more sales. That's the marketing that I do. And whatever that is called, it's more about sales enablement. So when I talk about what I do, I'm not a marketing consultant. I'm a sales and marketing consultant because it's only about the sale. And that's where the disconnect starts, because when I come in, and I just wrote an article about this is really sad, but it's so true. When I come in the door to any distributor I've ever worked with ever in my life, if there's a marketing team, they do not want me there, because if they're doing what I am there to do, then they don't need me. So I'm not there, I'm there to bring in the sales piece into marketing. And that means a lot more work for the marketing team. And it's really uncomfortable for the sales team too, because thinking about the sales funnel, the marketing team needs to forget about all the things they have to learn, but let's just talk about the sales funnel. Well, in order for them to fill that sales funnel, they need to know more about their customers, and all that knowledge is in their salespeople's heads, which means we have to extract it from the salespeople. And we have ways to do that. We have forms, interview forms, and we get all that information out. But if they're off to close a deal, they're not sitting down with marketing to fill out forms. They're going to go close a deal. So that is really difficult. But this is why I wrote my book, and in the book, there's that whole roadmap. And I think it's an 18-month roadmap, might be 12 months. I can't even remember now. But you can do it in 12 months if you're really dedicated. But I mean, it comes with, the agendas. This is what you're talking about. And do not leave this meeting till you get this done, that kind of thing. And it's a scary thing. It's a big paradigm shift. But man, it's the only way to get your marketing to where it's helping sales make more sales, which at the end of the day, you kind of have to just do that if you want to stay in business,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and you know what, I was at, a industry event. It was, the National Association of Electrical Distributors. It was their marketing summit,
They're a good group.
and that was so cool because I got to sit in these little round tables with other marketing experts at these and marketing leaders at these distribution companies. And, a lot of times we talked about this, like a lot of times technology, when it comes to, digital commerce, digital tools, CRM even, like a lot of it falls on the marketing team's plate to get the most out of it and get everybody on board, and kind of like they're the ones herding all the cats. And one of the things that they said was, they just mirrored what you said, is that so much of the thought leadership, the good stuff lives inside the sales team's heads.
Oh,
And, there's always one person at a company in every department. Customer service department has, somebody that is the go-to for every complex question. And same thing with outside sales. It's like, he's the one you go to because he knows that industry inside and out, and he's lived it, right? He's out there in the
mhm.
field. Like, how do you scale that? Like, so I'm wondering, like, what can marketing do to help facilitate the transfer of this knowledge and maybe even go beyond, like, creating great content? I mean, that's obvious, right? But, like, can we use that? Can we use, like, some AI tools now to, like, extract that information
Gosh.
and
Yes.
create, like, an internal, like, Frank the sales bot, like something like that?
If you know how to do it, you can. Um, yeah, that's actually what I do with my clients. Is there are ways that you can extract all that information. I mean, let me just back up. Like, if you take AI out of the picture, even back up a step before that. First of all, those people that you're talking about, the guys that have all the knowledge, like, go ask Frank, he's been here for 37 years. Frank's gonna go soon, by the way. If you don't get his knowledge down on paper somewhere, you know, guess what? You're gonna end up still paying him after he retires because 'cause you're gonna need him back. So you need to get all that information. And that's why we have buyer persona sheets. We have, like, I give my clients these sheets that takes all of the information that a salesperson has in their head and asks them almost like the same questions every which way, just to make sure we got all of the answers so that when this happens with the customer, this is how you go in. So that's step one. The second thing is when you, how can I say this? That individual, if you have a customer that has a problem and it's a problem that another customer had 5, 6, 7 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, that you solved because of that guy with the 37 years of experience, you need everyone else in the world to know that you can solve that problem. And the
Mhm.
only way you're going to do that is by writing about it, you know, and publishing content about it. And you need that information as well. And that's where your website can act as your best salesperson, right? I mean, ideally, your salesperson can walk in and, hey, what's going on, Bob? Bob says, oh, I have this problem. And your salesperson says, I just solved that for somebody else. It's no problem. I can hook you up. I have a guy. I can get you all hooked up. You don't always get that luxury of having that conversation. So you want to have that on your website. So you have to get all that information out. Now, when it comes to AI, if you're smart about it, you can't just throw it all into AI and have it make sense and not look like AI put something together. But there are they're called AI generalists. There are people that do this for a living now, and they will build those bots for you, or you can learn how to do it yourself, um, and have all that information in the bot so that when there is a problem or you need a piece of content, it speaks in that guy with the 37 years of experience. It speaks in his voice with his knowledge and experience. So that's kind of a long answer, I think. I hope that
No,
makes
it's good.
sense.
It's so exciting and I think,
Right.
like, you can today, marketing people can make it easier than ever to work around that friction, because, like, I remember, like, trying to get back when I was doing marketing, and I'd try to, like, go around and interview, like, 6 different sales reps, and some of them are, like, so, resistant to the idea of, like, giving up the goods. Like, some of them can be very protective, which it in sales, like, that's the thing, like, you don't give up your secrets. I mean, that's what makes you, like, successful, right?
Well,
But especially, like, there's this opportunity with Frank, who is working on getting a golf cart and sipping on Tito's and tonic soon, even more than he does now. But, like, there's an opportunity. You say, Frank, like, you're retiring in a couple years or you're planning to retire next year. We want to sit down and we want to memorialize you. We want you to be a foundation in this business going forward. And we want you to train the future of our sales org. All you need to do is spend, 6 weeks with us and, a couple hours a day or whatever, and we're gonna record conversations. We're gonna ask you about all your customer accounts, and, that way, when the next, you know, wave of new green salespeople come in, like, they can go and ask Frank questions.
yeah,
Like, I don't know, like, to me, like, that sounds so exciting, and
it's so exciting.
it's such a huge issue, and it's not just outside sales, right? It's also like, how do I handle this return? I have no idea what my manufacturer's return policy is. Like, and how do I do this? Like, well, go ask Carol. She's the only one who knows. Well, Carol can now teach you, you know? I feel like that's a big part of the future. I cannot get away from this and, I cannot, finish this call without asking you about e-commerce and how that plays an important role today with marketing teams in particular? How are some of the better marketing teams thinking about e-commerce adoption? And what do you recommend for distributors who say, I'm struggling with this? Seems like I can't communicate the value very well to my customers, right? My customers just aren't using it like I thought they would.
Yeah, that's a tough area for distributors because your customers depend on your salespeople to place the orders. Frictionless is the name of the game when it comes to getting those orders for sure. And your salespeople are your first line of contact, which means the salespeople have to convince the customers to use e-commerce. But then you have salespeople that don't want the customers to use e-commerce. They want them to use themselves because that's their job. So you have to teach more of that consultative selling. And, I mean, it's a whole big thing that from a marketing standpoint, the best thing a marketer can do is make sure that it's as easy as possible for those products to get found, right? The product information is plentiful and complete and unique and different than every other person or company that's selling the same part. Have some videos on there on how to use the site, some SOPs, that kind of thing. But to get the people to use it, to really push them, you do have to engage your salesmen to do that convincing and teach them more consultative selling. And, and compensation gets all involved in that. So, yeah, I mean, that's all I can really, I try not to get too involved in that because every
Right.
company is different. There's no like real formula.
And it's because it really like a marketing team's hands are really tied because most of the time because it really comes down to a leadership like operational issue. And, like to your point, like you have to figure out, okay, you were compensated this way for, this type of order, but now we're going to compensate you this way, but this is going to be better for you. And I'll explain why. So this is where, there's some training, there's some coaching, some strategy that has to go on, right? Like, hey, like instead of you, sending that quote through, or, and putting together this quote, you know, teach your customers how to build their own quotes, using pricing rules and using the product data that we have available for them on the website, and then go in there and use those same tools to make it easier for your customer to quickly check out and place that order themselves. And then farm that and get them in the habit of just that's how you're going to do it. And you don't have to lose the relational touch. You don't have to lose that at all, right? You can be checking in continually, but now you're not having to spend time in spreadsheets and, jumping around, with different, finance and purchasing. And, this is a
Mhm.
huge like waste of time, in my opinion, when you could just have a sales rep go in there and, hey, here's your quote, here's your most frequently bought items, here's your special contract pricing, and I'm here when you need me.
Right.
Like, you know, and not to take that away, but that allows that sales rep, that sales team to go out, be strategic, look back, behind the rearview mirror and go, what customers need more of my attention?
Mhm.
And to look ahead at the top of that marketing funnel and go, there's some juice here. Like I can go after some of that. And
Mhm.
problem is, if they're order takers and they're spending time quoting themselves, they don't have time for that, So there's
Yeah.
so many opportunities here. But to your point, like marketing can really make it easy. We can communicate the value of it, right? And really sell it to the customer and put all the tools in their hands. But unless leadership drives this mentality, in sales, then it's not going to happen.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And the other thing that, I mean, I don't know if it's marketing's job, but distributors have to make it as easy as possible for the customer to place orders, right? So you can phone it in, you can text it in, you can I can't even remember the different companies that do that. You have whatever that customer wants, you kind of have to do.
Write it on a cocktail napkin and shoot
Yeah.
it over, have a border collie send it to them. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
anything really.
But but my point is that you want your e-commerce site to be the easiest. You want to make sure your e-commerce site is set up to be the easiest. And you have to hang on to what I said before. Anyone can sell products, all right? And it can be the one, you're going to get the buyers that are going to go for the lowest price. You're definitely going to get the buyers that are going to go to the website that are easiest to buy because they're saving time. They'll even pay more money to save the time that it takes by ordering from somewhere that's easy. While your e-commerce site is taking care of those orders, your salespeople should be more focused on solutions to help your customers build their businesses. Your salespeople, especially your seasoned ones, have been out there a long time. They've seen customers come and go. They know what makes a customer successful, they know what makes a customer fail. And they have knowledge that they can leverage, you can leverage as the CEO, that's your salesperson. You want to take advantage of that knowledge and just focus on building your customer's business. Because when your customer senses that you're more about being a partner, about building someone else's business instead of your own, then you're going to start driving some loyalty. Then they're going to, so now you have ease of ordering, right? Because you have a good website, they can order it frictionless. They have a partner that's been through it all, that has seen it all, and is sharing all their knowledge with the customer, helping them build their business. They have a guy. They have a guy that they can call over at your distributorship and say, "Hey, I got a guy. He's been doing this for 25 years. Let me call him." And the guy's there. And he's like, "Yeah, I'm going to help you." That's what you need. That's where distributors need to be if they're going to be competitive. All right. They're not going to win on price ever. Right. We know that.
That's how a mid-sized distributor competes with the enterprise, right? It's
Yes.
not
The
it's
only
not gonna be
way.
on price, it's not gonna be on purchasing power, it's gonna be on value prop and marketing. This is the role at marketing is it becomes more and more important today because value proposition, ease of doing business, right? Like this is how you're gonna set yourself apart. This is what's gonna make you different.
Yeah.
Susan, our time is running short, but I want to talk about because I I'm such a huge fan of programs, processes, and like really concrete tactical things you can do to move the needle. And now at this time of year as we're recording this, we're kind of like right in the middle of like strategic planning season, right? And distributors are looking ahead of the future and marketing is a topic that will be on the table and probably doesn't get as much table time as it deserves, but it will be in the boardroom. What are some practical things that distributors are doing or they can do for 2026? And tell me a little bit about this 90-day distributor or digital distributor essentials program.
That's my new program. It's based on my book. So I told you before, my book was designed to take a distributor and their team through the whole process and have them live through the process as we set up their buyer personas, their content planning, their content distribution into the internet and gathering leads and all of that. And it takes them along this process, and it's a very intense, um, often uncomfortable process. Right. And so will drag a few distributors through it every year, kicking and screaming. And we finally got it to a place, that whole process, where it doesn't have to be 12 months or 18 months. We have it so it's almost like in a box. And my team and I come in, and within 90 days, the distributor doesn't have to do a thing except for answer a few questions. and tell me what, tell me this, tell me that, tell me this, maybe 4 hours of questions. And my team and I build out the whole thing so that at the end of the 90 days, they have everything they need from a technology standpoint and a knowledge standpoint. Because while we're building that for 90 days, they're meeting with me once a week for maybe 30 minutes or an hour a week. And I'm getting them all ready and I'm just telling them, here's what we're doing. And it's all done for you, I guess is what we can say. At top of the funnel, this is for the middle of the funnel, this is for the bottom of the funnel, read this, or see this and see this. And they're ready to just go. They have what they need. They have their email templates, they have their lead capture pages, they have their website set up so that when someone comes into their website, that they're finding what they're looking for. If someone's Googling, this is the big part. If someone is looking for a solution, Googling or through AI, you want your company to be coming up as the solution. Here's my problem. What should I do? And you can do this, right? We all do it now with ChatGPT. We talk to it. ChatGPT, I have this problem. What should I do? And you want it to come up, call Susan Merlo. She knows all about that stuff, or call this distributorship. They sell this. And you can do that now. You can put that all on your website so that the AI bots, what they call it, AIO now or AEO, come and like I have a distributor client and I'm not going to take credit for it because it wasn't me. Maybe it was me. I don't know. Um, but we were looking at
Yes,
their
it was,
SEO
by the way. It
report.
was definitely you.
Yeah,
It was
I'll take
definitely
credit.
you.
It'll be me. This is the wildest thing. So, on these SEO reports, it says where people are coming from. This one's coming from LinkedIn, and this one's coming from this article, and they had like 17 people come into their website from ChatGPT,
Yeah.
and so
Yep.
that was like, that is the gravy for what we do. When we see that, we're like,
It's our number one source of organic traffic right now.
is it really?
Yep.
That's
Number one.
amazing.
Yep.
See, it's all because
Crazy.
of one thing, and that's your content. That's it. Your content is what drives that. So, yeah, so that's our 90-day program, and we leave you with content. We leave you with a content plan for like the rest of, we could plan out the rest of the year, whatever. I'm a giver. I over deliver. So, it's everything.
Hey, and I love it because it's the ease of doing business and it's what their value prop should be and it's yours and you practice what you preach. And I'm guessing, you correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm guessing this is like an ideal program if you're a distributor who maybe doesn't have senior marketing leadership. Maybe you have like a small team of like younger, like energetic people that can go do the work, but you really don't have like somebody like building out, the structure and the strategy, right? Would you say that that's kind of your ideal type of customer?
Yeah, I mean, because what they have to do, it's painful. It's a painful process. It's all new learning. And these people, they already have 40-hour-a-week jobs, so you're taking on this whole new thing and you're adding change to it and, new stuff, new technology, new different hats they're putting on. So this does it all for them. It's more comfortable. It's a smooth transition into being more tech savvy and especially more competitive. One thing I have one client that says, I love going to these trade association meetings and coming back and knowing I have the best marketing. And it's not a big lift. It's really not. It's just a matter of finding that chunk of time that no one seems to be able to find. But we have it now. So it's just like a process. You plug into it. We do all the work and just kind of hand you the keys to the Cadillac at the end. And we teach you to
Love it.
drive it at the same time.
I love it. I love it. Susan, I could literally talk about marketing for the rest of this afternoon
Well,
with
let's
you.
keep going,
I
man. Let's
enjoy
make
it.
2
I
podcasts.
enjoy it, but I do have a call coming up. So thank you so much for this great conversation. For folks who are listening in on this, where can they learn more about you and this essentials program that you put together?
The best place to learn about me or anything that we do is probably through LinkedIn. I do a lot of publishing. All my articles, I usually publish about one article a week. I'm shooting for two for 2026. And at the bottom of every article, there's contact information, or they can Google me. I mean, I've been out there a long time. I'm really easy to find.
I'm going to there will be down here in the comments and in the, description of the show, there will be a link to your LinkedIn profile, and, we'll also include a link to your website, and I think that there's a link to, like, couple of resources that you're gonna, share with me too. We'll put those in there as well because you have some good stuff I think is just really helpful and concise. So, Susan, you're awesome. Thank you for what you do. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
being here, and, yeah, can't wait to see you soon.
I know. We have to do this again soon.